Good afternoon. Today's video and discussion, including the demo, is going to talk about automation of bigip. So traditionally, when configuring bigip, we've been using the web user interface. Log in through an HTML browser, bring up the web interface, and configure all of the LTM configuration through the user interface. And that's fine. It's an imperative way of configuring bigip. Everything is there and you can configure it. However, the question around what happens if I want to automate my configuration instead of the repetitive task of reconfiguring a bigip through their user interface. I want to now go ahead and automate functions of my configuration and potentially tie that into a pipeline or use a toolchain that can help me automate through GitHub processes and operations, etc. So I need to convert or I need to modify my current configuration. And if I'm going to use a declarative model, how do I get almost like a base model? How do I get a template? So this demo is going to show you how to use VScode to simply import an archive, import a backup from your bigip that has been configured the imperative way, and create a declarative-based JSON file that now you can go and play it back to a bigip. So as you can see, what's in front of me is VScode. And within VScode, it's completely blank. So it's just a complete blank VScode where I can open a file, I can clone repositories, etc. What I want to do here is I'm going to install a couple of extensions. And so the first extension I'm actually going to go and look for is something called the F5 extension. And this is ultimately, like it says, it's going to supercharge your F5 automation deployment. And so this is really important to actually install this first extension. So we'll go ahead and install this. You can see this is called F5 extension, and this is housed of F5 Dev Central. It's maintained by a group of F5ers that are really leading the way. Here you can post, you can delete, and use services like fast, AS3 DO, telemetry, and the CloudFormation templates. You can install the packages, you can uninstall packages, or you can update packages. It's really useful for updating these automation toolchain packages or components. What it's also really good for is what we're going to demo is we're going to convert a configuration from JSON to potentially YAML. Maybe that's one way. But what we're also going to do with this tool is that we're actually going to open up a UCS file. So if you're going to do any bigip automation, this is the one tool that you have to have, the F5 Vscode extension. So let's go ahead and install that. And that has been installed. As you can see, it's pretty simple. The second tool that we are going to now install is a tool called Chariot. And what Chariot is going to do is Chariot's going to allow me to convert LTM or bigip.conf to AS3. So that's go from imperative to declarative. So this Chariot tool will do it for me. And this is based on something called ACC, which is the AS3 converter that will convert all of your imperative configuration to declarative. So let's go and install that as well. And so we installed the application right there. So you'll notice right here, I can actually see I actually have a pretty cool F5 extension right here. So once I have this F5 extension installed, you can actually see here I have some bigips that I can connect to. So I can connect to my bigips, I can take a look and I can pull their configuration. What I can also do is I can import a bigip configuration, a UCS file, or a QKView. And then what I can also do is I can open that file, and then I can go and browse those files and actually take a look at what application is interesting to me. And then once I've found that specific application, I can convert it. And that's what's really this discussion is around. It's using this VScode extension to convert from the UI to an AS3 JSON. So let's go and import a configuration right here. So we'll take something off the desktop, and let's just use this file for example. So we're going to go ahead and open it. If you notice, what it did was it actually opened up my file, and it actually gave me a configuration. So I can actually see this is the name of the UCS file. It has a couple of sources right here. There is the bigip.conf. So as you can see here, let me close this out. So as you can see right here, this is the bigip.conf. So what I did was I imported this UCS file. It was called bigip UCS file from compute internal.ucs. And here is my UCS file. It's a UCS file that contains configuration right here. Yeah, just a bunch of objects, some data groups, and if we go down, we can see security. It's just a standard UCS file. There are some security here, some cloud providers. This was obviously created in EC2. For example, this might have been service discovery. Any case, and I can see here's the base, etc. Some scripts, some users. There's some Kubernetes. There's a Kubernetes partition here as well, for example. So that's the source of the file. What I can also do here in this VScode extension, I can actually click on this applications. Oh, interesting. So this is actually something that's created. Here is an application 443 and port 80. So there's an application here on port 80. You can see it's called Virtual Application Kubernetes Ingress Link. It's a CRD. And so this is this app. You can see there is some configurations, etc., etc. So there's a couple of applications here. I can actually select both of them. As you can see, it's both of the apps. Now, if you've imported a much bigger configuration, you can pair. You can find the apps that pair together. And here's the power of this tool. This is what I wanted to emphasize. I can actually go here, right-click, okay, show the apps. And now, what I'm going to do at this point, you can see here. So both of the apps are together. There's 443. And the port 80 apps are in the same screen. So all of my apps are highlighted. I can select all, right click, and convert. So what I've done is I have imported source from UCS in this case. I've selected the two applications that I want to convert, and now I'm going to convert to ACC. So as you can see, I did the conversion. And here, I now have an AS3 declaration with an IRL. You can see there's an IRL. The IRL is in common. And there is a tenant called Kubernetes. There's a tenant there called Kubernetes. So on the bigip, there's that tenant. It was created. It's called Kubernetes. And as you can see here, there is my IRL. So it's common shared. There's the name of the IRL right there, and here's the name of the application, and it's a shared application. So here is one application. Here is the pool members for that application, and here is the virtual for port 80. So there's port 80. There's port 443, and I can minimize that as well. And of course, here's the pool members for that port 80. And then, of course, there's the IRL. So this is pretty much two applications, port 443, port 80, that I imported here from LTM. And if we want to go back and look at the LTM config, you can see the LTM configuration right here. So here was the port 80. Here's the port 80 virtual. And then the 443 virtual is up here. And this over here is on is in JSON. So now this is AS3 format. You can see there's the schema version. So now what I can actually do is, hypothetically, I could actually take this and right-click this and actually post this to bigip. This might not work, but let's give it a try. And at this point right here, AS3, post AS3 declaration. So let me select the bigip that I want to post it to. So we'll go back here to our F5 extension. We'll find a host. Let's use this one here. So I'm connecting to this bigip, as you can see right here. I've connected to this bigip. You can see the tenants. But what I want to do is I want to post this configuration to this bigip right here. So I'm going to right-click here, and I'm going to post it. Let's see if this will work. It should actually work. There might be a little bit of challenges because I haven't really reviewed. So what's really supposed to happen here is you're supposed to review the configuration prior to posting, right? There's some stuff that we obviously want to do. Let me take a look right here. You can see the log messages. I was able to post it, no problem. You can see the 200 OK. This is what's coming back from the task. So I was able to post that, and here was the response, 200 OK. As you can see, I posted that to that bigip. And so I went from LTM to AS3 to declaring that configuration on bigip. Now if I pull that configuration to actually look to see what it looks like, I can actually pull it down. You can see it'll actually come up here, and there is the Kubernetes configuration that I originally posted. You can see right here. Here it comes. This was posted. It was originally converted. So this is the configuration that I just posted. That is actually pretty cool. So that's taking a configuration from LTM. That's first taking a configuration from UCS and then opening it up in this VS Code to LTM, selecting the applications that I want, then converting it using ACC to JSON, which is now an AS3 payload. And then that's where you would do some manipulation. But if you wanted to just try it, you could actually at that point select your bigip. And then I selected that, right-clicked, and I posted that to the bigip. And so this is the result that you get right here. Now what I can actually do is I can go and do some cleanup by actually removing that, because that's obviously active configuration. I don't have to save these. But this is the configuration that's on my bigip right here. You can actually see this is the tenant that was created. So that's the end of this demo. This demo is really to show the power of using the F5 ACC Chariot with the F5 VScode Extension tool. It's the power of using these two tools to help with your automation journey. Thank you so much.